that. Welcome to Toolkit Tuesday for June 2024. Who can believe we are halfway through this year? So tonight we're going to talk about ways to think about emergency response and active shooter and not the response side of it. Like we spend a lot of time about what happens if, what happens when, how do we say, how do we prevent, how do we notice, identify, those kinds of things. So we're going to talk through it in 1 second. First, I want to hear from all you guys. We've got small groups, so we can go around real quick, just how things going at your church, anything new you implemented that everybody can learn from. Anybody can start.
I'll jump in real quick. Had the good fortune of Angelia coming out to our church back in the February timeframe and helping us understand how we might secure our children's area church with multiple doors. And she helped us understand, how we could close some things down, lock some doors, and actually build a couple of walls and new door systems so that we can have a kind of one way in, one way out. So we're in the process of build outs as we speak and pretty excited about getting that done.
I'm always so excited when I go and talk to people and then I hear they actually did it. Like, oh, you did it? Like, that's great.
Well, we try to do 2 drills a year at our church, and so the next one coming up in a few weeks, I guess, is going to be a disruptor. So we'll have somebody at the end of the service get up and start making comments or something like that, and we're going to try and integrate the hospitality team and then the worship team also. We'll break out in the song, so we'll have a routine where a certain song will be sung if there's a disruptor. Yeah. And Angelia, do you recommend that we do like that wall, that human wall where you circle a person? Is that something you would do with an interrupter?
So a disruptor is typically do what you're doing, get the worship team, get everybody on their feet, get a worship song going, and then the security team typically just goes to them and
just the security team. Okay.
So are you doing this with the congregation or with your teams?
No, with the congregation.
It's so funny. Yeah. I mean, for years I would have advocated against doing that, and I think you guys do it great, and you do it so great. And your congregation they're into it. They like to help you do it. It's great.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's the whole point is for the whole congregation to know what to do. So it's not now what, so yeah, I can't see doing it without them really.
Yeah. I'm telling you, for years I advocated against doing it because I was really? Because I didn't want to instill fear in people, right?
Oh.
So I wanted to. I think about the fact that I've spent a lot of my time around first responders and folks who do this for a living, and so the things that they know, the general public doesn't know. Like we don't know what a firefighter knows or what a police officer knows.
Right.
And so as the more you elevate yourself and educate yourself about emergency preparedness, you know so much more than the general population in your church. My fear was always oh, we're going to scare people. Are they going to think, oh, there's a real threat happening here? Why are they doing it now? Mind you, I've been doing this for years. So back then, that probably was true. The more and more this becomes frequent, it might be welcome. It might be I might have a change of heart, Gary, I think.
Yeah. Well, I think it was Secure Church that talked about, start with the real easy things first. So we started with the fire drill.
Right.
And so, not active shooter the first time you do something.
You don't do that. That's for sure.
Yeah.
But even a fire, and I also have to think about scale, right? So at the time I was at Willow. That's
all right.
Pre-pandemic, that would have been a lot of people to try to move into.
Yeah.
But even now with the frequency of incidents around the world, so sad. I think people are probably more open to it. And I think you asked for volunteers, like the way you guys did it, like if you want to stay and participate. I think probably more churches would be willing to do that. Yeah, that's great.
I think rather than instill fear, it maybe is somewhat reassuring that they know that, you know, we've drilled this, we have a plan that, and so.
Yeah, I agree with you. But you're changing my mind. Like I would not have said that before I met you.
Interesting.
Yeah, real. For sure. Anybody else? So I see a couple of new faces popped in. James, Bob, and Rainice, welcome. And I just wanted to, right now, we're just going around saying how we're doing. What, if anything, we've done new in our individual churches that other people can benefit from. So far, John has talked about their build out. They're doing some build out. And Gary just finished talking about his drill. And Gary, don't forget to invite me. I'd like to come watch that.
Oh, okay. All right.
So anybody else?
I would just say that we do a meeting right before church every week. Who's ever on the team that week, and if there's any concerns or any things that we need to keep our eyes open for, hey, we're having some baptisms, so we're gonna have more people, or this or that, or there's been you know, a situation in the church where, you know, an ex-husband is going to be, you know, might be lurking around or whatever. How to keep our eyes open and just have everybody in the same sheet of music.
Absolutely. Now, is that just the security team or is that guest teams, that everybody?
Well, some of our teams are a mix of both. The guest services, you know, I'm a greeter, but I'm also on the security team like every other week or whatever it is, you know. So I'm a first point of contact to see what's coming in. And as we build our team out, we'd like to probably get them totally separated. But for now, this is what we're working with.
Yeah, good. Anybody else? All right, so I'm gonna hop into my slide and we can talk through these. This is interactive. I won't be able to see you necessarily once I pop this up. So questions, jump in, talk to me as I'm going. So I'm not just talking. I want this to be interactive, okay? So in a second to figure out where my presentation is. All right, can you guys see that?
Yep.
Yep.
Yep. See how to make it full screen.
You can't, it's not full screen?
No, not at least not mine. Here, okay. I think no. Can you hit your full screen symbol and see if that's?
I am.
It's full screen on my side.
It is. Huh?
It won't go into slideshow mode, which I'm not sure. There it is. Okay. Whew. I'm sure it's user error. It's been a long day. Sorry. All right, so we're going to talk about 5 emergency preparedness tips. You guys, if you've been around, you've seen this slide before. We talked a lot about safety versus security, which leads to all the things that we do leading up to an event and what happens post-event. And where we are now is in the planning and ministry training, which is a little bit about what we're going to talk about tonight. So whether you're leading a business or a school or a religious organization, no organization is immune to workplace violence. Anybody remember how much of church violence happens during the week, Monday through Friday? Anybody remember that number?
It was pretty high. It was like 70% or something, wasn't it?
5%.
Yeah.
So as much as we think about it from the angle of our worship centers on Sunday, we also have to be cognizant of and thinking of the people who are working there Monday through Friday. So yes, we've protected the kids. Yes, we've got things, but what's happening in the offices? Are those front doors locked? That kind of thing, right? So we got to think about that. Acts of violence and other injuries are currently the 3rd leading cause of fatal occupational deaths in the country. according to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, 4,764 fatal workplace injuries that occurred in the U.S. in 2020. 705 were violent cases. Okay? So having a plan for what to do in the event of workplace violence can help ensure the possible tragedies minimized, contained, addressed, resolved as quickly as possible. So the 5 tips we're going to talk about, preparedness tips, help you begin to formulate and think about the plan and think about how to minimize loss in your organization. And I want you to think about tonight both sides of the house. So what's happening Monday through Friday and what's happening on Sunday morning are 2 different things, right? So I'm going to play a video from somebody you might know, and then. Hi, I'm Angelia Hobson, the founder of Church Safety Toolkit. Church Safety Toolkit was born out of the idea of equipping organizations and churches for emergency preparedness strategies. As violence continues to increase in our world, it is imperative that you have a plan. How will your organization lead through a crisis? Regulators are exploring their options right now on how to impose fines and fees on organizations without a fully implemented plan if they experience a workplace violence scenario. Throughout this series, we will talk about things like how to lead through a crisis, how to normalize the conversation within your organization, and how to begin development on a fully executed emergency response plan. You will hear me talk about things like see something, say something. Those are called safety moments, and here's an example. If you're a traveler, you hear this all the time inside airports. See something, say something. Use those same principles inside your organization. Whether you're walking through your worship center or through the lobby of your corporate building, if you see something, say something. Anything that gives you pause. Someone who's dressed kind of ominously, or a bag that's been sitting unattended for a while. Is that bag just an unattended item, or is it a suspicious item? Those are the differences we're going to explore. Together, we will develop checklists that take you from how do I get started to a fully executed plan. I am so excited to go on this journey with you as you enhance safety and increase protection for your church or organization. Let's talk about the real. So if you got our email this week, this was at the top of the email, and it talked about the active assailant incidents are no longer a lightning strike. So we used to say years ago, you're more likely to be struck by lightning than to be in an active shooter scenario. That's not the case anymore. It really isn't. This past weekend in Michigan, a mass shooting at a splash pool. This past weekend in Chicago, a mass shooting at a gas station. I mean, you're getting out of your car to go get gas. So you have to start making this part of your conversation with your family, with your friends, with your congregants, with your church staff, so that people are thinking about it and it's infused in them more than just on Sunday mornings. So despite this, organizations often do not understand how to plan and or prevent an active shooter or assailant event and are instead too focused on how they respond to it. So we wanted to take the onus off or the focus off response for today. The first thing is normalizing the conversation. I talk about that a lot, and it's not about fear, it's about awareness. And again, I'll piggyback on Gary's take on this, and I am really loving watching how he is developing that and increasing the conversation in the full congregation. And so I'm thinking that I'm going to start adopting that as well and trying to help people figure out how to do it, because I do believe, I remember when I first took over the safety role at Willow, the guest teams would come up to me and said, "Oh, thank you so much. You know, we think about this every time we drive on this campus. Thank you for talking about it." And so I think that that really is a key. Like, we just have to start talking about it and developing ways to talk about it in small bite-sized chunks so that we don't instill fear, but people really need it. So tip number 1 is an audit. You want to conduct a full-scale safety audit of your facility. What does that look like for doors? What does that look like for windows? What does that look like for entrances? What does that look like? You want to identify risk and vulnerabilities. Where are those? A little bit before you guys all got on, Sally and I were talking briefly about not having enough coverage on a Sunday morning and so many positions. She talked about, you know, Father's Day was a little light. She had positions that were open she's watching on the cameras. And so we probably still have it somewhere we could dig it out where we kind of lay out a map. And on that map, we say, okay, we need 10 positions of this, but we only have 4 people show up today. So we kind of labeled them 1 through 10. So however many people you have, put them in the order of 1 through 10 so that you get your most vulnerable areas covered, right? Access control is another one. Years ago, it was a big fight with a lot of churches because we have to still remember that we're the church. We want to be open. We want to be welcoming. We want doors to be open. There's such a great way to do that. I did a lot of benchmarking against this years ago. And one of the churches that I saw do it best was Community, I think it's called. And they had full-on access control. But if you walked up to their front door, you wouldn't know that. The only reason I knew it, I had talked to their head of security. And he said, oh, yeah, when service starts, we lock all the doors. Everything goes, right? And in my mind, I went, sounds like a prison, right? How does that feel as a congregant? So back pre-COVID, it was a Saturday night service. I just wandered into one of the campuses and I got there late on purpose. And I walk up to the door and there's like 3 or 4 people in the glass, between the glass doors, and they see me coming and they swing the door open and they say, welcome, and they greet me. I had no idea the door was locked. I had no idea the door was locked. So I think that that is one of the best ways I've seen it done, because we have to always remember that we want to be welcome. But access control is a big deal. Prop doors is a big deal. Kind of getting your staff and volunteers not to, as they're moving things in and out for events, propping doors open, leaving doors open. Adequate numbers of security team folks and their training. We'll talk about training in a little bit. And if you have camera systems, how are those working? How up to date are they? How up to date is the software? Who owns that in terms of who is going to manage it or monitor it? That's really important. So tip number 1 is to do a full-scale audit of what you have and determine some of the things you might need. Questions or comments on that one? Anything anybody doing?
No.
All right. Tip number 2 is a plan. I think I have drilled this one so much. I probably don't even need to spend any time on plan. If you do not have a plan, there is a plan on our website that you can download and use the template. If you attended our conference, you have a plan. Toolkit Tuesday is obviously what you're doing now, so you can work on your plan with us. And I'm talking about a comprehensive written plan. And when I talk about a comprehensive written plan, the same as I said to John earlier, I'm so excited when I go to these churches and we have all this conversation, do all these walkthroughs, come up with all these suggestions, then we meet with the leadership team, and then I leave. And then I come back in 6 months and they're like, yeah, we're trying to get to it. And I'm like, okay, right? When you write that plan, it is a living plan. It is a living document. If you have people listed as emergency contacts in the back of the plan, who to call if there's a fire, who to call if there's this. When that person leaves, you need to update the plan. If you got new people rolling on, taking positions. So somebody needs to own it and always be updated, okay? Team development is a big part of the overarching plan. Who is on your team? I talk about this when I talk about who is on your team that serves with you in the capacity of safety team, security, protection team. Doesn't matter which name you call that team, but also who's on your team if you do have an incident. So it's both things. It's the preparation and it's also the backing. So you got to be thinking about both. Your community development is really important to your plan. Who are your first responders, mutual aid? How many people on the call have these things in place in terms of mutual aid partners and have met with your first responder? Okay.
Mhm.
That's really important. And then lean into resources like us. We have things up on the website. Safety moments are up on the website. Templates are on the website. If you have a topic and you say, oh, I'd really like to have some video to talk about this topic, send them to us. I'll make a quick video. I'll shoot it at your church if that makes sense for you. We need to get some new content, get some things up on the website. I'll shoot it with you. I'll interact with you. We can role play, and it can go up on the website. It's all free to other churches if it helps other churches. So if you have scenarios in mind, I'll bring my video guy out and we can do that. Tip number 3 is culture. How are you developing a culture of safety? All of these things are things to think about on the front side of preventing an incident. How? Developing the culture of safety gets everybody thinking about it. You infuse it through your entire organization, starting with the staff and your key volunteers, right? And then that responsibility lives with everyone. I think we talked about some time ago having the team like a safety team, which is great. I don't have a problem with you having a dedicated team as long as the people on that team are representative of the individual ministries. So somebody from guest ministry, somebody from security, somebody from worship teams, somebody should be, so that what you're learning in the team goes back with them to their individual team. So then it starts to become a trickle-down effect and everybody understands what it is you're doing. These are the ways that you start to think about preventative measures. So how do you do things? Have you made decisions? How have you cross-trained people? How do you reward that behavior? How do you celebrate it and communicate it, right? And then that responsibility becomes everybody's. Everybody's thinking about it, because what you don't want is for people to think about like, oh, the safety team's got it covered, or oh, the security team's got it covered. When in fact, there's more people and more eyes and ears that if everybody's thinking about it, then they will start to see things in a different way. That makes sense? Questions, comments? Nope. So tip number 4 is training. So all the stages of training. So how do we do it? We develop and deliver regular training. And what I'm calling regular training is kind of what Bob described when he was talking about their pre-serve meeting. So before the service, they talk about what's happening in the service today. You know, we're having baptisms or we're having communion or whatever's happening. So that to me is what I'm calling regular training, because that means every Sunday you can talk about it. So what we used to do is we used to do the safety moment live, where I would pop into all the pre-services for each service and do a live safety moment. Then we started getting the volunteer leaders to do the safety moment. And then after I developed the safety moments, they're on video. You can take the topics we have. Again, if you have topics you want us to develop the safety moments, if you're doing a pre-serve, 60 to 90 seconds. But it's the regularity of it that keeps it top of mind for people. It's like always doing it. OAA was really big for us, something called Observe Act. How do we teach people what to observe? How do we teach them what to assess and what and how to act, right? So what to observe, what to assess, and how to act. So those are things that, again, we can go deeper if those are things you want us to assist you with. And in the training pieces, the cycle is just all the stages. That needs analysis will come out when you do your audit at the beginning. What do we need? What are we missing? What do we need to train people on? Then design and develop it. Again, a lot of this stuff is on our site, or if you need it, we have it. Trust me, we have it somewhere. Then the implementation and delivery. So we're going to help you with that piece. You can come out, do the implementation of it, and then you can continue to do the delivery of it if you need that. And then you stop and do the evaluation of it. So you show, teach, show, evaluate, teach, show, evaluate, essentially. It adds a thread of safety through the organization, which we talked about. You can also bring it to the staff side by opening meetings with a safety moment. So when they're going to have regular meetings Monday through Friday, start infusing them with safety topics that's important to them. Do the people who are working in the office Monday through Friday know where the fire extinguishers are, know which doors should be locked, like start equipping those folks too. And then Gary, you talked about the semi-annual formal training. That's when you bring in all the teams and do a couple of big trainings a year.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
So in our safety meeting on Sunday, we were talking about, people come in with backpacks. You see the mother, she's got a big backpack with all the stuff for the baby, whatever. But, when you see some guy who's got a slingback backpack on him, what's he bringing to church or whatever? And we were kind of deciding, should we, and I don't want to go on a tangent on this, but should we stop him and say, listen, just under the guise of safety and stuff like that, we just need to know what you got in your backpack. Do we ask him or do we, we're just trying to come up with a way that we're all on the same page instead of just talking to each other. Look at that guy. Gee, yeah, I wonder what he's got in his backpack.
Yeah,
Who's going to go up and say something? I'll say something to him, whatever,
right. Yeah, so a couple different ways to approach it. One, if you know the person and you know that his wife just walked in with the kids and now he's hauling all the stuff, okay. If that backpack looks heavy, you certainly can ask them. The other thing you could do is decide whether or not you allow backpacks into your worship center. Like we didn't let rolling bags into the worship center. You can't bring a rolling bag. And we have conferences, all kinds of stuff, and we would make designated spaces for those rolling bags. We would check it. We buy ticket tags, like a coat check. You get a check, we get a check. We would bring it back. So yeah, that's a decision you guys have to make about whether or not you would allow them in the worship center or not. But if that bag looks heavy to you, if that you don't know that person, I would certainly try to engage him. And I would start with, hey, welcome to, I'm sorry, Bob, what's the name of your church?
One Line Church.
So, hi, good morning, welcome to One Line. Can you tell me why you're here? Why try to engage them and have a conversation. Now, one of the biggest indicators that I've learned is if their intent is harm, they're not going to engage you, or they're going to look right through you, or they're going to keep walking past you. Obviously, now you got to do something with that, right? But if they engage you and you say, wow, that bag looks kind of heavy. Yeah, my wife and the kids. Here's what I always say. It's a gut check. Never, 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 never discard what your gut tells you. Because how many times have you watched something post-incident, people go, oh, I just felt it when he walked by and I just didn't want to say anything, right? So, yeah, if that bag looks heavy, I would ask to look in the bag. I would certainly ask to look.
The reason I brought that up, because and I don't want to go on a tangent on just that thing, is these are the things that pop up week to week. We're
Yes.
starting this thing. We're just starting to go. Most of these issues are going to be emergency situations or medical. But when something like this comes up, let's just deal with it in the meeting. It takes 2 minutes to talk about it. And then I'm getting good advice from you. And I'll say, here's what we discussed on Toolkit. I think we ought to be talking to people that, look suspicious, and just ask them, what the deal is, and just cover it and move on,
And another
Thank you.
indicator is if they won't let you look in that bag, right? If that person's resistant to let you look in that bag, that's a problem. Because if I'm walking in and I got a heavy person, you say, Angelia, or hi, ma'am, welcome to ABC Church. Wow, that bag looks heavy. Just for safety, do you mind if we take a look? And I go, no. Well, that's a problem, right? If I got nothing in my bag, I'm going to go, yeah, look at this. I got books and blah, blah, blah. I'm not going to have a problem opening.
A suggestion, we kind of struggled with this at our church. And so about a month ago, just you have to start and basically get practice in a comfort level with it. It's really your comfort level. And so there was a couple, a young couple with a baby, and they had, obviously it was a bag for the baby stuff and everything, but they were fairly new to the church. And so I just went up and started a conversation, talked about the babies and everything. And, a really nice conversation. They were nice people. And then I said, I'm part of the safety team, and, we kind of struggle on how to handle bags. Would you mind if I just took a look inside? Oh, they were so grateful that, it was like, oh yeah, definitely. We understand, and so I think if you maybe start with the easy ones, and so then it's kind of a routine. So then when the ones that have come up that you're really not comfortable about, then it's already part of you of asking. So, and I know the secured church, they said if they don't let you look in the bag, either they return the bag to the car or they don't come in. Yeah.
That's right.
And I think it helps if you have a written policy, not to show them, but you can always sort of apologetically say, hey, after saying welcome, you're here and everything. Hey, we do have this backpack policy. Sorry, but is there any way I could look in your bag, or could you return it to the car? The hallways are crowded, the pews are crowded, that type of a thing. And generally, where can you go today? What sporting event or other place can you go with just um, a backpack that's not clear and open to search?
That's right.
Now, we get the case where this 80-year-old lady that's been coming to church for 35 years has her shopping bag. I mean, what do you do there? I mean,
Yeah,
I would just use certain behavior indicators too. I mean, you're going to know certain people, other people. You're just going to have to do the best you can with your behavior indicators after you walk up to them, they don't make eye contact, et cetera, and so on.
Yeah, and I'm going to piggyback on what James said. It's easy to say, I'm so sorry. We have a rolling bag policy. We can't allow rolling bags in the auditorium for safety. That's real easy. That's real easy. So they either check it, which we're willing to take it from you. You check it with us, or return it to the car. But you can't take it inside the worship. And Bob, I would start with kind of what Gary talked about, some of the soft things, and also maybe, are you guys using Slack at all yet, where you can communicate in the software, in the app? Because then the question becomes, does anyone know this person? If they're brand new to you and they're walking around with a heavy backpack that they won't let you look in, yeah, we got to address that for sure. But to Gary's point, she's 85, she's been at the church 30 years, she carries her grocery bags around. You know this person, then yeah, you have to kind of pick your battles, right? But never, ever let somebody go past you who you feel like is a threat.
Well, I'm not a very fast runner, but I can grab a guy's leg, and then I have a real big guy I work with, and he's supposed to tackle him. So it's all about the team.
This is what I tell everybody. I'm not a runner. So if you see me running, you should follow me. That's all I'm saying. Probably a good idea. And I can help with all the things before something happens. If something happens, I'm running. So you probably should come with me. I'm just saying, I'm not on the security team. All right, tip number 5 is the drill. So conducting drills with some expected regularity is really important, as well as a surprise drill for your leaders. Now, Gary, we can put our heads together and determine whether or not a surprise drill is good at church. I don't know. I'm not sure I would do it for the congregation, but I would certainly try to do a few for leaders. If you got all of your leaders together for a meeting, or part of something, to pop a surprise drill for them might not be a bad thing. Keep your plans top of mind. And anybody ran a full-scale drill other than Gary? Anybody?
Nope.
Okay. Invite the first responders if you met with them, and you want to have them come observe your drill because they have a lot of good feedback. They might even say to you, this isn't the best door for you to exit out of during this kind of a drill, or this is the best thing. You want to time it. I didn't put that on there, but you certainly want to time it and decide whether or not you want to include your congregation. We talked a lot about that already. I had that on the slide to talk about. The ultimate goal of emergency preparedness is not to make people afraid, but to make them aware. So back to normalizing the conversation. So each phase of preparedness helps your teams feel comfortable. And it's simple speech. It is not Alpha, Bravo, Charlie. No, it is simple speech, especially on radios and that. It is intentional leadership, and that each person knows their role. That is what's really important. So that end of the slides. Not that. Okay. So I'd like to hear from you guys. What's next? Like, where are you and what kinds of things do you need from a team perspective? Is it additional volunteers? Is it training for your existing volunteers? I'd like to hear how you are normalizing the conversation in the church, and if there are places and spaces where you need help doing that in terms of getting people engaged in the conversation. Because it has to be everybody. There's more of them than there is of the safety team. There's more guest people than there are security people. So all of the things and again, back to our original statement, it's not that uncommon as it was when we started talking about it, 10 years ago, right? So it's happening more and more. So how do we think about this? And do you feel like in your organization you have normalized the conversation and that people are comfortable talking about it? You think folks are still skittish and need some direction to start talking about it?
I'll tell you, one thing we started doing was, if we're on a safety team and something comes up, I'll go back out to all the greeters and go, hey, just a heads up, here's what we kind of talked about this morning. This is what's going on. Or if we were talking about fire extinguishers the other day. And if you don't know where they are, they're there. And then just walked around to the different people and said, and quiz people, do you know where the fire extinguisher? And no, I don't, no, or where the first aid kit is, somebody falls down in the lobby and stuff like that. And we're all cement floors in there. So I was at Community Christian Church one time, and they always had the lights so dark. And some lady came out, and her kid was bleeding. She goes, "Why do you have the congregation so dark in there now? Hey, kid's bleeding. I need a." And I knew exactly, thank God, where the Band-Aids were, and went over there to, hey, yeah, listen, I want to talk to that guy about turning up the lights a little bit, but at least you knew where the stuff was. So talking to each other about these different issues, it should be a little more formal, I think, though. If you're on the greeting team, if you're on checking in kids down in Kids City, you should know where those things are. And we now have a kit down there and a kit upstairs for adults. And we've gone through first aid with the safety team. We need to expand those things so to get the teams talking together about things too. But I think in a more formal way, so we make sure we cover everybody, not just friends of friends, right?
Right, and taking down the silos, right? So it used to be like the greeters were a team, and the security people were a team, and the worship leaders were a team, right? So that's why I said safety team is not my first go-to thing, but it seems to be popular as long as those folks are represented. So you take the silos down, right, inside the organization, and now you're starting to weave the thread through everything. That's kind of important. Anybody else on normalizing the conversation? How do you guys feel about that?
Yeah, we've got some work to do clearly in our church. I think people are very open to it. They're appreciative. They're willing to talk about it and listen, but we've got more connecting to do to the point you just made about children's leaders versus ushers versus safety team versus staff. We got work to do.
Yeah, people get siloed really quickly. Oh, we do it this way. Oh, we do it this way. Like there's no defined way that it should come together. And if everybody is doing their part, even when you talk about guest teams, if everybody's doing their piece, if you were talking about an evacuation, don't worry about what's happening on Sally's door. Like cover your door and together it works all together, right? So now we get everybody out because I'm working on my section. Sally's got her section. Steve's got his section. And now we've got the whole place covered. So that's one of the things to do to make sure everybody's working together. James?
Can I ask what the attendance is at your church on a Sunday morning?
Now,
Just approximately, I was just wondering.
so I'm not there now, so I wouldn't be able to answer that for Willow, but I go to a couple of smaller churches. And so probably 1,000 people maybe.
That's
Okay.
small. That's small.
I came from Willow, Gary.
Yeah.
How much is it at Crystal Lake, Sally?
We're running 700 to 900 with the two services. It just varies. It varies that much.
James, what size is your church?
1,600 to 1,800, depending on, summer, obviously it's lighter.
And where are you? What's your church?
In Wheaton, College
Okay.
Church,
Which one?
College Church in
College.
Wheaton.
Okay. Mhm. So is that one service, two services?
3 during the year, so.
And how do you feel about the teams? Like, do you feel like the teams understand your plan? Do you have a written plan?
Yeah, we have a manual and then we've tried to interweave it with the other ministries. So like a week ago I met with ushers to see how the usher corps could have our back when something happens, because we can't cover everything, especially if it's a major incident.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's great.
Even medical, you need people to hold doors, maybe form a privacy wall, direct the ambulances and, things like that. Get the
Exactly.
medical equipment, call 911, etc.
You guys all on here, I believe, are church volunteers. How do you feel the plans get done and executed? Because it's not anybody's full-time job, right? So what I notice is we start these and then we make progress, and then somewhere along the line we go, oh, we got to get back to that. Oh, we got to get back to that. Or do you feel like yours are like you're on a continuous improvement cycle? Or does it get lost? That's what I'm asking.
I'm still pretty new, but from what I've observed and from the training that I've been getting, ours has just been on a steady improvement cycle
Good.
and it's very consistent. We also do the 15 minutes before the service, before each service. We have our little, this is what's going on, what we're looking out for, stuff like that. And I've attended some of the pre-service meetings for the greeters too, to see how they prepare them and offer safety moments.
Okay. Good, Sally. I'm so proud of you.
Thank you.
Sally's like, I actually joined the team. So proud of you. Anybody else have any take on that? Just to encourage each other, because it's a lot of work. It is a lot of work. You're working with all volunteers. You're working with all volunteers. It's tough to get people on the same page, even if it was your full-time job. It was my full-time job, and it was hard to get everybody rolling in the same direction. So, if you have any other words of encouragement for your colleagues, that would be helpful.
Yeah, I would say we're still in the, let's get organized, let's take on CPR, let's take on the first aid class, those are exciting, but we gotta take a half a day on Saturday? Oh yeah, this is important, and then people will kind of get into it. I think once you get people into the mindset like this is important and this is the work of the church and this is the work of God kind of thing, then once they see that importance, then they're more open to participate and be part of the team to do these things. I don't think we have it other than the safety team. I don't think, the worship team, the musicians and all that, they know what they got to kind of do, but they're really not involved in any of this unless somebody's talking to them that I don't know about. And we should all know what the communication factor is with our teams. Hey, you're going to talk to the musicians and stuff because they're standing up there watching the back of the church. They see people coming in. We're supposed to be watching it too, but how would we communicate with each other? I should be that last tip of talking to and going to the greeter meeting. We sit there for 2 minutes and pray together. Hey, God, protect us. Here we go again, and that's it. And we really ought to be sharing with them some of these tips that we're picking up every week and saying, if this comes up and you need some help, you just turn around and wave at me. We're going to keep it simple. We're a smaller church. Bob, I need help over here, or can you, Bob, just yell my name. I'll come right straight away. And come up with some avenues of communication, and then come up with a little more formal way of doing it. We're still struggling with it. We are.
All right. Yeah, we can help you with that.
We
Go ahead.
no, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say on his communication piece, like we talk a lot about radios. I don't want to get into that tonight because that's kind of part of the response. But yeah, communication is a big part of what needs to happen. Go ahead, James.
We also have radios, but we put everybody that is serving on the morning services on the same text thread. And
Mhm.
so like even people that are stationed in the sanctuary, they can get a text, and it's not loud or anything. They have earpieces too, but the text is a lot nicer because Sunday school classes have radios too. And if you do it for like during the school year, all three services, then if someone comes back, which may occasionally happen, who was an issue at one service, so it's not like it's starting all over again the next service. We already know about him or her.
Yeah, and I would suggest looking into Slack. Slack is the app where you can put your whole team on it.
What's it
And
called?
Slack, hold on, I'll show it to you. Let's
She said Slack.
SLACK.
yeah. Hold
And
on,
can you tell us how it's different than a group text, or is it similar?
hold on, I'm gonna let you watch the video.
All right.
And then I'll explain how I use it. Let's see if I can find the video. Where is it? There it is. We're gonna go watch YouTube.
What is Slack? We ask ourselves that every day. And wouldn't you know, we have an answer. Slack is a messaging app for business, yet it's also so much more. It's your company's home for everyone and everything. Your digital HQ. Slack is made up of organized spaces for anything you're
For
working
the
on.
channel, we label
So you can move a project
Yes.
forward way faster,
security team,
share ideas,
emergency
set
response team.
deadlines, and make decisions together in a dedicated space. It's
People of
productivity
interest
on your own terms, giving you flexibility to work the way you work best, so you can collaborate live. Oh, hi. Find information from across your company. Aha. Or create some focus time. And it's a place to connect with everyone you work with, inside and outside your company. So you can bring together the right people with the right context, and everyone can stay up to date.
From a company
People do their
perspective,
best work
but
when they
we
have a
use
place
it
to work
for,
together. That
like I
place
said,
is
creating
Slack.
a channel.
Get started.
There's a guest channel, there's a security channel. And so the guest teams can come and just talk to their team. The medics can talk to their team. The security folks can talk to their team. Or we have an emergency response channel. So everybody would go to it in an emergency. One representative from each of the teams who makes up your safety team goes to this channel if we are in an emergency. One channel holds pictures. If there's people of interest who should not be on campus, you take that picture, put it in there. So back to when you were saying, Bob, a backpack, this guy, you talked to him last Sunday, he had the big backpack, he's back with it again, blah, blah, blah. You drop that picture in there. So the difference between that and a text string is you ever try to go back and find a text message? Like I'm looking for something you texted me 3 weeks ago or 4 weeks ago, you're scrolling forever and nobody knows where it is and where's the picture. It's all in there and it's in that channel. The app is free. You just download it on your phone.
How many people can you put on it?
I don't think there's any limit. That when I was at Willow, we had a channel for each campus. We had 7 campuses, so one channel for each campus, and then within each campus, all of those.
Okay.
So we never hit a max. I never hit a max doing that. And it's
Awesome.
a quick way to communicate.
Probably cellular versus web, right? So you can, even if people
You
aren't.
have channels up on. I thought this was weird. It's an app on your phone,
Okay.
but you have to set the channels up using your computer. Don't ask me why. But
Okay,
once you set the channels up, you invite people to the channels. So you have to tell your team, hey, I'm gonna set this up, I'm gonna invite you to the security channel, or I'm gonna invite you to the guest channel. They have to accept it through their email, and then they're in the channel, and then they can all talk to each other in that channel. Cuts down on noise, cuts down on time, and the best part for me is it tracks the information and keeps it. So the emergency response channel, if you guys remember, there's that sheet that has who's your incident commander, who's going to talk to the press, who's going to do all those things. You take that and put it in there. Like all these documents that you need, what's in your kit when you're evacuating, your evacuation kit checklist is in that channel. So now if you're in the emergency response, you grab your phone, go straight to the channel, everything's right there. You're not looking for a binder and paper and all this stuff.
Hmm.
Yeah, it's pretty easy. If you need
nice.
help, I could do a Slack on a Toolkit Tuesday if you guys want to do it.
Yeah.
Nice.
All right. Send a note, Denise, remind me. And then
Thanks for the suggestion.
okay. Yeah, we'll do it one Tuesday, and then just we'll send an email and say download it before, and then we'll walk through it and set up your channels. Pretty easy. It's just so much easier than trying to find it in a text string. I'm lost. I could barely keep it in my life in text.
Do people that are signed up in the channel, do they get a notification on their phone that they've got a message?
If they turn their notifications on.
Yeah, right, okay, yeah.
Because you @chat them, right? So @Gary, right? Then it dings you that somebody's talking to you.
Okay.
And you can set it up, I think, that you get dinged if it's for me, or you get dinged if it's in the emergency response channel, right? But if somebody's just talking to everybody, then you might not get the notification. I think you can set it up however you want. Anything else? Do you have anything else?
So how did you educate the congregation at Willow Creek since it was so large?
I tell you, I never did it. I'm
Wow.
I'm following Gary right now. He's leading me.
Oh,
Because I never did it. I was always, and again, I've been gone now from staff for 2 years. And it was so big, I just thought we were gonna incite fear. There's too many people. I mean, when pre-COVID, 3 services every weekend over 7 campuses. I'm like, how do you even get your brain around it? And how do you not scare people? The people I think that would be the most afraid, and this is we talk about how to prepare beforehand and how to communicate. I think we have some of that in another slide deck that we talked about, is how to put together a manual and help people understand what your protocols are, right? So these are our safety protocols, particularly parents when they're bringing kids. So if we have a fire, here's where your kids are going to be. If a medical emergency, here's how you're going to be notified. If we have a weather emergency, here's where your kids are going to be. If we have to evacuate the campus, this is how you're going to be notified, right? Giving those parents that early and having them understand what's going to happen with their kids will slow down or minimize, not eliminate, the chaos of parents trying to get to their kids, right? My son is 33. If we were in the space and there was an emergency, your instinct is to go to your child. So the people that's going to be the hardest to educate from the congregation is the new parents. So kind of how Gary was talking about, he was talking to the new parents with the babies. Those kids aren't in school. Parents of school age kids, their kids are leading them because they do these drills at school. They're going to be the least freaked out about what's happening. So those are the things that I was weighing, James, like what do I do and how do I engage the congregation and how much do I tell them? And so I never actually took the leap to do the full-on congregation. But watching Gary do it, I'm starting to adopt it, I think. I'm gonna watch his next drill. I'll let you know. I'll see if he wins me all the way over. Anything else you guys thinking of? Comments, suggestions? optimism, problems? Anything else we can help you with?
We finally got a radio system, we've got the earpiece and everything, and it just doesn't work that great, Somebody's talking and they can't hear them, or, and then three guys come walking out like, what's the problem? Nothing. I was just checking the radio, And so either we got to get new radios or new earpieces or something. And then some guys are just like, it irritates me. So I don't put the radio on. I just put the headset piece on. I'm like, that's not going to help us if you can't hear what people are calling for, right? So
here's
we
my
got to get on the
question.
same.
Is it the radio equipment or is it the way that they're communicating on the radio?
I think probably both. I mean, we need to play more with it, but I think we got probably the wrong equipment too. So we're
Yeah.
experimenting.
Yeah, let's talk about that. And in terms of radios, since we're on the subject, you talk about the earpieces. If people are wearing radios, they need the earpiece in their ear. If that earpiece is really irritating and they really aren't going to put it on because you can't force adults to do anything, make sure they have it on them. If you go into an emergency, it is an absolute must that they get it in their ear as quick as possible. Because what you don't want is to be broadcasting across the whole church what's happening. Because people hear that and it's going off on 5 radios now. That's a problem. So you have to tell them if they're wearing a radio, they need to keep that radio earpiece in their ear. Or don't wear it. I mean, I'd rather you not have it on and I have to come and get you and tell you what's happening than for you to broadcast it in the middle of us trying to run our plan. Right? Because if the bad guy's still there, he hears you too. Oh, kids aren't covered. Can somebody get to the toddler room? Can we? Right? You will set a whole storm in motion. So either you're going to wear it or you're not going to wear it, but you don't need to half wear it. That's my answer to that. Communication on the radio is so key. There's a whole slide deck that I have about radio communication. Again, simple language, get to the point, say what you need to say, get people where they need to go. Chatter on the radio is not allowed. We cannot talk on the radio back and forth about nothing that's nothing. Okay? So get your game plan in your pre-serve and only use the radio for necessary communication. And if there's a medical emergency, we will shut the radio down. And literally, when we would come on and make an announcement to freeze all communication, I got a medical emergency. And you find the person who you need and you tell them to follow you to the emergency channel. Then you take yourself off that channel, go to the emergency channel to talk to them, and then go back and free up that other channel. So I got a whole slide deck on radio communication. So if you need help with that, we can help with that.
Would love to see that at some point, Angelina. That'd be fantastic.
Okay.
Yep. Send it to Cindy Derry too.
Okay. Yeah, I might just post it. But it's a training. So if you want, I can train your people in it as part of the training if you want. Or you can take the slide decks and train it yourself. But there's a difference. I was there one night, I think I told the story once before, and somebody came on the radio and said, oh, I'm over here, and there's a woman here. She has paperwork. She has her kids, and her husband's here, and he has a gun. Yeah, he's not supposed to be here. He's looking for her. They're divorced. He has a gun. He's rattling this on the radio, and we're like, what is happening? So remember the part about me not being a runner? Took off running. Everybody's running. We're all running to the other side of the church, running. So we get over there. I'm out of breath. Everybody's like, what is happening? What he was trying to say is the lady's here. She has her kids. She has paperwork that says her husband's not supposed to be on campus at the same time as her and the kids. And he carries a gun. Is that the same message? No, that's not the same message. It's not the same message. So I drill home a lot about radio conversation. So Bob, it's like, maybe it's the equipment and maybe it's how they're utilizing the equipment, but we could work on that. Yeah. Anything else come top of mind? Yes, no? all I have for you lovely people tonight. I'm happy to stay and chat though if you want to.
No.
Yeah, questions?
Go.
So I owe you guys some stuff. I'm gonna look for the radio communication stuff. We're gonna put together a Slack training for one of the Tuesdays. And Gary's gonna tell me when his drill is.
Mhm.
Do I have any other deliverables? No? All right.
Thank you very much.
Thanks. Yep.
You're welcome.
Yep. Great as always.
Was this helpful tonight?
Yep. Definitely.
Yeah.
Just bill us at your usual hourly rate.
What'd you say? What'd you say?
I said, just bill us at your usual hourly rate.
Yeah, $0. Don't you love it? $0.
You're worth every penny.
Oh, thank you, Sally. I'm worth $0. Okay, wait. Somebody's got to pray us out. Gary, you were going to go, so you want to take us out?
Okay, Lord, thank you for this, the technology that we can gather together with fellow believers and share our thoughts and of how we can protect our church members, our guests. Continue to hear our prayers that we offer to protect our churches. We'll plan, but we know that it's ultimately in your hands. In your name we pray.
Amen. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah,
This is awesome, guys. I really appreciate it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
spread the word. I would love to see the community grow. Tonight was the most like what I've wanted for this community to share with each other and do best practices and what are you doing and there's so many things that I learned just from I get to see all of you guys and go to your churches and stop by and see what people are doing and people don't get that and so what happens is you get tunneled in your vision and the vision of your church when there's so much good information and people are doing so many things. I learn from all of you when I come and visit you. And just like one of the things that I learned, I went to visit this church. If you have the doors with the arm, right? And I was like looking for metal things to help them lock it down. I was doing all this research and they were like, oh, we talked to our fire department and they gave us their old hose and we slide it over the arm and it's 600 pounds of resistance. You cannot open that door. Like I would not know that had I not gone to visit that church. So this tonight has been the most like what I've wanted to see this community do. So spread the word, invite people, because we all learn from each other. I went to for work, Tuck School of Business 4 different times, and every time I've learned more from the fellow students in the room than I've ever learned from a professor. Because they're doing it every day. You guys are doing it every day. I talk about it every day, but you are doing it every day. So helping each other with all the things that you're doing, or even where you're struggling and how we can jump in and help you. That's what I want. So thanks for being here.
Good stuff.
I know.
Thank you, Angelia.
See ya.
Bye.
Thank you.
Same
Thanks,
way.
guys.
Oh, bye all.
Bye-bye.
See ya.